Hey, it's Kelli-Leigh and welcome back to the You Know My Voice podcast. Today's guest is an absolute queen, Natalie Maddix of House Gospel Choir. House Gospel Choir have amassed well over 200 million streams with their voices, worked with the likes of Ella Henderson, MNEK, Rudimental, Purple Disco Machine and Louis Vega. I mean, the credits speak for themselves. Welcome to the sofa, Natalie Maddix.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here.
What an intro.
I mean, the credentials speak for themselves.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Also, you know, I love to say this, you're a South London girl.
I am a South London girl, Brixton.
Come on, big up Brixton.
Yeah.
Big up South.
Yeah.
I love it.
South girls are the best.
South girls are the best.
All right, no,
sorry, guys. But yeah. So it's also a very special year this year because it's 10 years of House Gospel Choir.
It absolutely is, yeah.
Which you set up.
I did.
I mean, we're going to dive into this process of how you set this up, but let me quickly take it back to baby Natalie, because you're an incredible singer.
Thank you.
Singing is in your veins.
Yes.
Tell me about growing up and your discovery of singing.
There's like, I don't know, I've got five. My mum had 6 kids, so our house was pretty busy. Mm-hmm. And I really used to just dream of being an only child, and that sounds terrible, right? And I love my siblings, I really do, but it was always so busy that I just wanted a little bit of time to myself. So I'd just sneak off and just sing, just because it made me really, really happy, and I had no concept of whether it sounded good. I just knew it felt good. It wasn't about performing for anyone. It was just the joy of singing, and I discovered that really young. I suppose singing songs in church and, you know, just singing reggae tunes mostly, and whatever R&B songs I could get my hands on. So I just always loved the way singing made me feel, more so than how it sounded.
Yeah. Did you have other singers in your family?
Not on my dad's side. There's a big musical contingent, but I don't know the Maddix family that well.
Right.
But I've heard. There's lots of musicians.
But it's in your blood.
Yeah, I've met a few over the years, so it's definitely there.
I love that. So when you would take yourself off, was there like particular songs that you would sing which would resonate with you?
Well, I'd drive my family mad with like, one Christmas it was I Will Always Love You. The year it went like number 1 for 10 weeks or whatever. Yeah. I sang that every day and just drove everyone to distraction. But it was, the songs like that. And then I was a massive Mariah Carey fan growing up. That was my
When I used to try and sing along to Mariah, I would definitely mash up my voice.
Yeah. I was convinced I could hit the top octave, and I was like, but there was no control, there was no nothing, but they're absolutely a soprano. Just like a born soprano.
So when was this transition? So you would escape away, sing, want to be solo, but you've ended up with an even bigger family now.
Yes.
How did you create this situation of magic? Did you ever want to be a solo artist?
I had a moment where I, wrote, and it was like mostly garage at that time. So some interesting things. I was in a couple of crews. I've had some fun. Like, I just love dance music and raving, full stop. So it felt natural to be in garage and house. Yeah. Whether or not the songs were any good,
Did you release?
We did release some, yeah. And then I did some more, more R&B jazz stuff. I will just try anything. I just love music. I love just being involved in the process. But doing it solo for maybe like 2 years. I was quite young, like in my teens. And I was like, this is quite boring for me. Because I was just, like, the fun of it, the excitement was always the interaction with other people, whether that's an audience or in the creative process. Yeah. But there's so much of being a solo artist is you. Yeah. One up, solo, like figuring it all out. And as much as I'm very good at figuring things out, I could do it if I wanted to, but just wasn't enjoying it. The point of music is to have fun. Yeah. And I also started to go to the studio more at the time, and I hated being in the studio. I was just like, this is a completely different experience of singing than just being in your bedroom singing or even being at drama club singing. Singing in the studio is like being in a laboratory sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you go from the comfort of your bedroom to essentially like a metal box with padded walls, and just like, oh, this is not. And then what you're hearing back in your ears just isn't the thing that you've come to love. Right. So I think even the process of recording music by myself, it just didn't feel like the joy that I'd found as a singer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so just stopped.
You just stopped altogether?
I just stopped altogether, yeah.
When was this?
2000 I just finished my degree.
Right.
So
what was your degree in?
Anthropology and media.
That's incredible.
Yeah, just sidebar.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm a massive Zora Neale Hurston fan.
Wow.
And then I learned she was the first Black female anthropologist. I was like, I want to know what that is, and just looked into it, and yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So did you not go to music college?
I didn't, no. My mum wouldn't, I begged my mum to let me go to Brit school, or, everything I wanted to do in music or creative had to be extracurricular. It was,
right,
go and read your books, get your GCSEs, get your, whatever it just had, there was like a prescribed order.
Yes.
So everything else was extracurricular, I suppose. So yeah, I was going to be a lawyer at one point.
That's incredible. Which is also very good for you reading contracts right now.
Yes. It is a bit helpful. It is helpful, yeah.
So, but the music must have been calling to you then.
It was. And so I was like, okay, well, you've got your degree. Why don't you figure out what jobs you can do in music? So I started teaching workshops to young people, and eventually went on to be an education manager, music education and events management. Then into touring. I was just really committed to working in music in whatever way I could, and just trying to sustain myself being in the music industry in whatever way.
Yeah.
But I always found myself in the spaces where it was about creation and it was about groups. And that's where I felt happiest.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say, you're very natural with people as well.
Yeah.
You're a really great natural
really
leader.
Love people.
You're really encouraging as well. You've got a very great energy.
Thank you.
Which you obviously necessary running a choir.
Yeah. Yes. I think it's growing up in a big family. My mum had 8 brothers and sisters as well. So lots of aunts, loads of uncles. So you kind of learn how to operate inside big groups. I'm a bit of, I love being by myself though. I have to make that clear. Like,
have a little, you time.
Nothing like it. Like I am a vibe. just me one. And like, I don't need a lot. Like I'm very chill in that way. But I love being around people. I love creating with people. I love community. I love what happens when we kind of brush up against each other and use ourselves in unison. Like I'm a big believer that, we can get somewhere independently. It's really important to grow up and learn how to be independent. But for me, like interdependence that's where civilization needs to go generally. Yeah. I think it's just a great part of the creative process as well. And it's a great way to experience life. Yeah.
So how did House Gospel Choir start to form for you then?
I suppose the more I worked in music, the more I was facilitating other people's shows or education projects. I was like, I kind of miss singing. So I just got back to like singing to myself again, singing for myself, writing a bit, released a single that did really well in South Africa.
Amazing. What's that called?
It's called Selfish Skies.
Come on, Selfish Skies.
And it had a great At Jazz remix. And that was just reaching out to the producer at the time, Warm Days. He's changed his name a few times. And then it came about, and it was just a really great time. So I was like, I want to be in music some more. I just want to enjoy this.
Did you get to go to South Africa?
I did, I got to do like
such a great place.
It was just really one of those beautiful things that happened. It was like 2010. Yeah. And got to tour across Pretoria and Joburg, and it was wicked. It was really good. And the song was very well received there. Like Deep House was really doing its thing. I think it still is to a certain extent, but it was like, that was groove for SA. So that was fun.
Did you go up to Table Mountain?
No. So that's Cape Town. That's the other
Cape
side.
Town.
I wish. Yeah. So it wasn't lots of money or anything to be traveling around, but it was me and my friend Natasha, one of my really best friends from sixth form college, and she was like my encourager. Even when I was working in retail, or she was always like, "You should sing. You should make music again." So she came with me, and we were at this. There's a club which is like an old, like tenement yard sort of place that they've turned into a club. It was called House 22. So it was real like low key, but just a vibe. Yeah. And so I ended up doing a PA there, and it was one of the best nights of my life. Just joyfully, the music was good. weather was good, there was food, it was just perfect.
Yeah.
And the whole audience was singing along to different songs. And it was just house. And I was like, this sounds like a choir. This is beautiful. And I just remember turning to Tasha being like, we should do this when we go back to London. Like, wouldn't it be great if like people were there to sing and rave and just enjoy it? And she was like, yeah, you got to do it. You got to do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. It took me a little bit longer. But the seed was planted.
Right. And that feeling.
Yeah. That's it. Like the energy of the place was just, yeah.
So when you got back to London then, and you said it didn't happen straight away, what was that kind of fire that you were like, I need this needs to happen? Because you filled a space in dance music that no one knew was needed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I couldn't get a job, you know?
Right.
Like, I'll be honest, like I was freelancing, and then I was like, oh, this is quite hard freelancing and tour managing and doing this stuff. Let me see if I can get a job, like, and just PAYE and find time to make this project happen. And it just wasn't happening, because at that point, it was just meant to be for fun, for joy, for dance music, for release. I never imagined it was a business. I wasn't really like, oh, I want to work for myself. I wasn't that type of person. But yeah, it's just I couldn't get, to say I couldn't get a job. I had work. Don't get me wrong, but I couldn't get
the jobs you wanted.
Yeah, like a contract. Like, this is your full-time job, 9 to 5. Just there was no 9 to 5 activity, and I was just like, that mean I should just do it, innit?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I like the way the universe teed that up for you. Yeah, it was meant to be. Yeah. It's like, no, you're going the wrong direction.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Just kept getting blocked in what I thought I should be doing, and this idea would not go away. And these things just kept happening where I'd be working with people, and we'd end up singing. I'm like, this is the first time I met this person, and now they're telling me they play piano, and we're in a back room of like Royal Albert Hall singing piano, and all the crew and the staff is singing. And you're just like, what's
happening?
Yeah. So these beautiful instances of just like music.
Yeah.
And then I was asked to program some choirs, just randomly. Amazing. It felt random at the time.
Yeah.
For the Olympic Park.
Amazing.
Yeah, just out of, and I was like, okay, right, this is surely like, this is more signs to just keep doing it.
Yes.
And then one of the directors, I'd already spoken to a few people and just said, you know, I want to do this thing. Do you want to come to a rehearsal studio with me and just sing house music? Like, well, as a choir.
Yes.
And they were like, yeah. So maybe about 8 people that had like registered.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'll do it in May or June. And as I was on the Olympic Park, it was like maybe March. And this is 2014. The producer said, someone's looking for a choir for Glastonbury.
Wow.
Do you know anyone? I was like, do you know what?
Do you know?
I know someone. I know someone. I hadn't had a single session yet.
Oh my God.
It was wild.
You just don't turn down Glasto.
You don't turn down Glasto.
No.
And I was like, so I organised a rehearsal for the following week, and it was wicked.
Oh my gosh.
We learned Barbara Tucker's Beautiful People.
Is this with your 8 people?
Yeah, just 8 friends.
Amazing.
In a room in Stratford it was. And it was just a wicked rehearsal. I was like, this is possible.
Yes.
And then the next week we had keys and a DJ, and I was like, right, let's chop it up like this. And the edits were so crude, and maybe, I don't know, but it felt amazing because you're raving and you're singing in harmony in a gospel style. So even in the room, you knew it was special.
Yes.
So we kept building the show.
And did you have the name by this point?
It was just house choir.
Okay, it was just house choir.
Yeah, it was just house choir, because I was like, as much as we're singing in a gospel style, because that is the tradition, and it's not groundbreaking in any way. There is, gospel house is a style of music.
Yes.
And inspiration in soulful house and deep house is just, it's evident, it's present the whole time. So,
and with all those singers on those records, you know, a lot of them grew up in church.
Exactly.
So they'll bring in that spirit to dance music and Chicago and that time.
100. And it's just part of the tradition and the culture of Black music that there's these overlaps, and in the same way that hip hop was this branch here, and, you know, and house did its thing here, and what's widely considered the first house tune to a certain extent was Stand on the Word, which was being played in clubs. It's a gospel record by a children's choir from New York.
Amazing.
The Celestial Voices, I think. I'll get the correct thing for you. But and then they started playing it in the club. They did a disco remix and a house remix, and that's it. So at its inception,
yes,
gospel was present, choirs were present.
And that's also the thing about clubs and those spaces when they first came about. It was supposed to be a safe space, space of celebration, a space of love, a space of diversity, you know, especially on the LGBTQ scene as well, in the ballroom.
100.
So there was that spirit of gospel running throughout it, not necessarily having to be religious per se, but it had that feeling of spirituality.
Yeah. And I think you also have to remember a lot of people probably grew up in church that were finding themselves on the dance floors in that time and finding that, you know, they were gay or, you know, maybe outside of part of something other than what the church was being accepting of at the time. I have to be really careful about that because it's individual people's experiences.
Yes, of course.
But that's their tradition. So essentially that's their God, that's their faith, they've grown their whole lives believing God loves them and God is love and they worship, but they're gay. Yeah. So does that suddenly mean that God isn't part of their life anymore? Yeah. So when they go to the club to find that community and that communion, the music they're going to play, the messaging is the same because that is their foundation, and love is the foundation of a lot of house music.
Yes.
So
Glastonbury's on the horizon. You've had your first rehearsal. Yeah. It's sounding amazing.
It sounded really good.
Did you do it with just the 8 of you?
No, so every week someone was like, I've heard you doing this choir thing, can I come? And I'm like, you're all right. And so every Monday and for about 5, maybe 4 weeks, just like 1 or 2 new people would turn up every day. And it was like people just bringing their mates.
Brilliant.
And it's like, can I bring my friend? Yeah, come then. So we had about 40 people by the beginning of May, and I was like, right, we have to stop. This is like, I don't know. So yeah, we chose the songs we wanted to do. And
were you performing with someone in particular?
As the choir?
Yes, for Glasto, or was it house?
No, it's house gospel.
Amazing.
It's insane. Like,
what stage were you on?
We were on the acoustic stage with house music. So they really didn't know what they were getting. Like, I don't think this will ever happen again. But the audience loved it. It was the Sunday slot. And we were doing gospel songs as well. We did Up Above My Head by Kirk Franklin.
I love Kirk Franklin.
Oh gosh, what else was in that set? Ride on King Jesus. And we'd make them into house versions.
Yeah.
So if the audience was coming for a gospel choir, so they still got that experience, but I'm pretty sure they didn't bank on this.
Dancing their socks off
as well. And there being a DJ and a percussion, you know, it was crazy. It was like a club.
I love it.
And I look back, I found some pictures of it the other day. We looked wild. Like, I was just like, I just want everyone to wear yellow, blue and pink. Like, I'm not a stylist, bro. So I went to H&M, and I love that first group of choir because we just used to try stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we looked crazy.
But you were living in the joy of the moment.
We were.
Yeah.
And that same day, like 2 weeks before, someone was like, oh, the Kooks need a choir on the John Peel stage.
Brilliant.
And I was like, because tickets are scarce for Glastonbury, right? Yeah. So if you're on site already and you're a vocalist or you're a choir, maybe sometimes you get a second booking.
Yeah.
So we did John Peel stage that same day. So
incredible.
Yeah, that was.
What time was that?
Gosh, that was like in the afternoon.
Brilliant.
And then our set was like 7 p.m.
This is brilliant.
It was wild.
So you must have had some serious reaction.
Yeah, we did. And I think, I don't even know how it happened. The company I was working with at the time is a jazz company called Sirius, and they're brilliant jazz and world music. And I'd been doing some tour managing for them. So one of the directors there, David Jones, just offered to help administrate some of our bookings. And out of nowhere, they were like, oh, Latitude would like to have a performance. So we went and did that. And then we got back and they were like, oh, it's even saying it. There's a thing at Buckingham Palace. Can you sing for the princes? And we were like, yeah, cool.
That's what you do. Hold on, I'm just going to take this call. It's the Queen.
Yeah. So that thing, like, I can't tell you like how horrible it was not being able to get a job, right?
Right.
I felt like trash. I just felt like I wasn't good enough for anything. And but I just got pushed, redirected, right?
Yeah.
And the path was there.
Was there for you, calling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just, we worked really, really hard for that 12 weeks to put that show together. It wasn't a joke. Everyone was in.
Yes.
And we just about made it work.
Is this how the Annie Mac connection ended up coming around then?
How did Annie Mac come about? I think it was one of Annie's friends had seen us somewhere else and must have said to Annie, I think you'd love this choir, because Annie loves choirs.
Yeah.
She just has always loved choirs. So she was doing, what was the event? Annie Mac Presents at Dockyard? I can't remember the venue. And she had this thing before Kanye, before Sunday service. She was like, I want a choir around my DJ booth. Do you think we can do this? And I was like, yeah. So we sang Sounds of Blackness, The Pressure into the Frankie Knuckles version to open her set.
Amazing. Just
kicked off. And then she gave us this edit of, and it was really new at the time, it's got some edit of Fade, of Kanye West's Fade.
Yeah.
And got some, did a madness on it. So we did that, and it's got all these gospel samples in it.
Love it.
So it was wicked. So, and Annie just, I think she was grateful that we tried it. It was like, it's essentially what we do, but we've never been in that position around a DJ.
Yeah.
And the DJ was always behind us.
Yes.
Prior to that. But the DJ's really, really important to a rave. I don't get why people just stand and stare at them now. Because they are, I think of the DJ like the conductor.
Yes.
You know, like if they're a great DJ, they can control that vibe.
Yeah.
And Annie is a conductor. Like, so she's almost a choir director in that way.
Love that.
Yeah, and she just put me onto some really great music, and she's like, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? So we developed a kind of separate show for her. And we did that a few times. We did V Festival and Electric Picnic, and yeah, so that was great. Oh, and we did Glastonbury again.
Amazing. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, with
Some
Annie.
people dream of Glastonbury, and you like, did it twice, but 3 times technically in stages. I mean, I'm seeing Pyramid Stage in the future.
Oh, that's a dream. I want to, one of the big dreams was to open Pyramid Stage with a Sunday service gospel set. I want everyone rolling out of their tent like, what is all this noise? And it's just house gospel choir.
I love this.
Just putting it out there.
So have your own set.
Yeah.
House gospel choir, got to have their own music.
Yes.
So you started featuring on some records. Who was the first record that you like officially featured on then? Because you added gospel to the name.
Yes.
Became House Gospel Choir.
Yes.
What was the first?
Riton and MNEK Deeper.
Yes.
Featuring house gospel. And at first I thought it was just like re-sing the sample, because we'd been doing studio sessions, like uncredited, not featuring house gospel choir or anything like that.
Right.
And they were like, no, we'd like to do it as a feature. And we're like, yeah, okay, cool. That's great. And then it was always an ambition to do music, to release music. And that went well.
Yeah.
That was really fun.
So as you said, like you were kind of doing those sessions uncredited. Had you not thought in your head at any point, like, we should probably start getting our names on some of these records?
I mean, a lot of them were like pop records or for rock bands. So it wasn't necessarily the right
timing.
Wasn't, and it wasn't the right artist to be featured with. But actually as a way to, because we were getting asked to do a lot of stuff, and people were forming their own choirs out of the vocalists we were training and paying them peanuts, like really bad money. For like 6 people to come to the studio. Oh, I've only got £150. That's not enough, babe. It's not enough for 6 people to sing in harmony.
Yeah.
So we set up a vocal agency.
Yes.
So I run a thing called Rep Vocal Agency. Rep stands for Record Everything Properly.
Nice, because there's a lot of people who don't want to record properly.
So so it's physically record properly, but also record the information properly. Make sure your PPL is registered.
Yes.
Make sure if you've written something that you get your points on PRS and paperwork's done, ME forms filled out. So we kind of just created a standard for how we wanted our vocalists to be treated and to work with, and we were doing sessions for bands and different artists, but it hadn't really moved into dance yet.
Yeah.
And then we got a session with Gorgon City for something, and then the Riton thing.
Yeah.
And by that point, because we'd been doing the gigs and touring in Glasgow and stuff, Ministry were like, yeah, definitely feature. We're like, we need to do our own music as well.
Yes.
So I started putting it out there that we're ready to start recording. And our set was largely covers because it's...
Yeah, harking back to the
it's
the
a DJ
iconic
set.
records.
Yeah, it's a DJ set. So you do Beautiful People, you do Battle by Wookie, you do I don't know, Hard Drive, Deep Inside, whatever. But it was really important to start writing as well. But we got to do Battle with Wookie. Like I was just like, he said yes. Which was an incredible experience. It's my favourite garage song ever.
Amazing.
And we released our version of that in 2018,
nice.
2019. And that went on to our first album on Island called Required.
Brilliant.
We released that during lockdown. So that was tough.
Yeah.
But we went for it, like you just give it your best, and it was a crazy time.
Did you feel like going through that period and having a record on major label and stuff that you felt really supported and championed?
Championed, really supported. I don't know. I can't say championed and really supported. We believed in ourselves.
Yes.
And I think our A&R and our marketing team, they believed in us, but as for like having that feeling of this umbrella company is really behind your project. I don't know if artists get that. I think your small team believes in you.
Yeah.
I don't always know if the wider label is even aware of all the artists signed to the roster.
Yeah, right.
So no. So no.
No.
Like overall, no.
Yeah.
But our team that was working our project were really, really dedicated.
So what kind of started to make you kind of switch and think like, we've got to really back ourselves harder here because we've got some magic. Clearly, there's a lot happening, there's a lot bubbling.
Yeah.
But, and knowing you, you've had to really take the reins to grow this to the next level. Is there something that triggered you to do that?
It's not one trigger.
It's like a couple of things.
Like lots of guns going off in your face at the same time.
Yeah,
It is that. Yeah. Because to ensure bookings for future festivals or future years, you've got to have regular releases. So then it was like, okay, easier ways to release is do great features with artists.
Yes.
And we've been really fortunate to do the features we've done. We've worked with Ella Henderson and Purple Disco Machine and Oliver Heldens with Nile Rodgers. So we've had these really key features that have kept us rolling.
Yes.
In terms of regular releasing and streaming. But
you've worked a lot with Piers Rudimental.
Yes. And Rudimental, forgive me. We were on their last album.
Amazing.
With a song called Keep Your Head Up, produced by them and 2 Fox. The wicked track.
And you guys seem to have a really great relationship as well.
Yeah. Like Rudimental are one of the bands I really looked up to when I started the choir. And it was because I saw there was like a BBC News report, and I think they had a gig in Australia, London, and somewhere else on one night. And I was like, of course they can do that because there's more of them. They could just split the band.
Yeah.
2 can go here, 2 can go there. I was like, I'd love to do that one day.
Yeah.
So they were like a little bit of a blueprint.
Yes.
So to get to work with them, it's like, it's really happening.
Yeah.
But they're so talented. Like,
I love their records. Seeing them live, it's incredible.
The live show's insane.
It's insane.
It's insane. And their ethos is really similar. They work with lots of vocalists. They're really into collaboration. And I think we do a similar thing. So obviously similar to Rudimental, hear me. I mean, they're massive, but they're just guys from Hackney at the same time as well that are sick producers and songwriters.
Have the love of music like you do.
So, yeah, massively. So we got to start writing with them in 21, 22. And very quickly it became like, these songs link together really well. It feels like an album project. But we didn't have an outlet for it. There was no label. And to be fair, I didn't really shop it around hard because of my experience on the label before. I was a bit like, let's just make the music.
Yes.
Being signed and then making an album is very different to making an album and without any pressures.
When did you part ways with Island then?
21.
2021, yeah.
21. And this is a really key thing, I think, for all artists. There's an option window on your contract that when you sign, especially to major labels, they have the option to release your second or third project. And And so a lot of artists, when you're like, oh, the album came out 2 years ago, why have we not heard their follow-up? It's because the option
is being held
is being held, right? So we had a really cool lawyer at the time when we did the deal. And he was like, see how short you can make your option window, because you'll know really quickly if you want to move forward.
Yes.
We got it to 6 months.
Okay, good, good.
So, and people will be like, oh, well, that's not long enough to check sales. Our album came out during lockdown. If we'd been held any longer than 6 months, we still probably wouldn't be able to release features and stuff now.
Yeah.
So within 6 months of the album being out, we were out of the deal, essentially, which was great. And people were like, oh, but don't you want to do the second album? I'm like, that's not the point. The point is you're not held. You're not tied to anyone. You're free again.
Yeah.
What are you going to do now? So we just started writing and creating with Rudimental. And I write with one of the members of the choir who's become one of my really great friends. Her name's Lizzie Nightingale. She's such a sick songwriter.
Such a great singer too.
Such a great vocalist,
great energy,
right?
yes.
So we wrote the whole choir. We've tried to do writing sessions as big groups. It's hard.
No, there's too many opinions.
It's so many opinions. And then, I don't know, it's tough.
Yeah.
But just through that process of making music, me and Lizzie just create really well together.
That's brilliant.
So we just started doing writing sessions and gone on to do writing for other people. But the Rudimental sessions is where it kind of started.
Yeah.
Our songwriting partnership.
Brilliant.
Yeah, but we came out of those Rudy sessions with pretty much an album's worth of stuff.
That's brilliant.
And then it just sat there for like 2 years.
Oh no.
And we carried on writing, and we're gigging and training people and doing stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to a point last year, I was just like, I just want to put it out.
Yeah.
Want to do it.
I need to put out your body of work. So I think that's the thing. When you feature a lot, it's awesome to a certain extent, but you're also bolstering someone else's projects and identity.
Yeah.
And you start feeling like, what is my identity in this space and in this industry?
Yes.
Because I'm known, but people aren't seeming to know what my ethos is and who I am.
Exactly.
So is that really encouraging for you? I mean, like last year, and also mentioning Louis Vega and Barbara Tucker, we did a panel that you invited me to on ADE last year, and we were talking about vocals and dance music and the treatment of vocals. Yeah. I mean, you've been doing such amazing things and you sort of burst on scene in a great way. Do you feel the respect has always been there for the work that you've brought to the table?
I don't feel disrespected, I think. So I think that's one thing. But as far as like people being aware of what I do and honouring that in some way, or talking to me nicely because, because I can get these things done. I'd say no. Yeah. But that's also me. I'm pretty chill. Yeah. And I just want to do the next thing and do the next thing. I haven't figured out how to shout about things very well as I'm doing it.
I wouldn't say that's true. You've made a formidable, incredible group, and you guys are slaying it, and you sound amazing.
Thank you.
And I see the way you are with the choir as well. You're just so on it, and there's so much respect for you.
Thank you.
So I think don't dim your light.
Okay.
Yeah.
Received.
And how incredible what atmosphere you've created. And the people involved in the choir, everyone looks so happy when they're performing.
They're such lovely people.
It's brilliant.
They're really, you met some of them anyway, you're meeting some of them. That's the biggest thing. I feel really, really grateful that this group of very, very talented people who could be doing anything else understand what I'm trying to do and want to be part of it and choose it year after year and over again. They do other stuff. Just to be clear, there's solo artists in there, there's producers, there's musicians, quite a few people releasing their own solo stuff or gigging. Some of our vocalists have done BBs for You.
Yes. Big up
Zaza.
Yes.
Come on. Some of them have been on The Voice. Yeah. It's an ecosystem. Yeah. That's what it is. It's just a space where we can do this house gospel choir thing and we can do this rep vocal agency thing, but actually it's all feeding into you as an individual to go out and be more empowered and know your rights and be treated well in the music industry. So that's all I'm trying to do with the guys. So it ends up being like a proper family vibe.
Yeah. And it feels like that when you're together.
Yeah.
So the album then, because album 2 needs to happen.
Yes.
You got your fire in there and you were like, this needs to be our time.
Yeah.
When did you make that decision?
Last year.
Yeah.
An annoying thing happened and we'd made these videos during lockdown just as a way to stay connected. And they were like choir in a box. Just all these little squares where we were in our homes filming our individual parts, and our musical director and DJ Harrison would put them together and mix it.
And I think that's the first time we met as well, because you guys asked me to do the Mr. Jam's record.
Yeah, Mr. Jam. I love that song.
Yeah,
I love that song. Yes, big up Mr. Jam. So during lockdown, we made these a cappella videos, and one of them got sampled, and I heard the record being played, and I was like, oh, that sounds like us. Contacted the label or the producers, and they were like, it's not you. We've re-recorded everything. We did sample you originally, but it's not you. And I was just like, that's not true. So we went back and forth with the label. It's a massive label, and like, I was like, I can't. So I was just like, no. So I called my lawyer, and I had I didn't have budget to be calling lawyer. Like, who do you think you are, Natalie? I was like, I'm going to find the money. And in the end, turns out they did keep part of our video in the sample.
I hate when people try and utilise singers' voices and say they didn't use it. Like, we know our voices, like we know our fingers, like our thumbprints. Like,
right? So, that got settled, that got dealt with. But I think the process of that, I was just like, we made something out of love during lockdown to keep ourselves going. And these incredible artists agreed, yourself, Beverly Knight, Crystal Waters, Barbara Tucker, agreed to be part of those videos for the betterment of, people being at home, like really, really struggling. And the feedback we got from those was so beautiful. People really were going through it. So we kept going, we kept making them. I mean, it was difficult to make them. So to know that someone just taken it and tried to profit from it, when it's just literally the hearts and souls of all these people, these talented people coming together trying to do something good. And I was like, nah, I'm not having it.
Yes, I'm not
having it. So that got settled, that got dealt with, called the lawyer. I felt very good. That got, and then we were like, right, we just need to release our versions of these things. And we've got all this music sitting here waiting.
It's time.
So set up a label, I think.
Yes.
Set up a label. And self-releasing.
Yeah.
That's it. The album is called Love is the Message.
Yes.
I'm so happy with it. It just sounds, it's just perfect. It's timely.
Have you got a favourite song?
No.
No, you love them all.
My babies.
Yes.
All 12 of them.
Yeah.
There's a couple of covers, but mostly originals.
Yes.
So you'll finally get to hear a lot of the songs we did with Rudimental.
Yes.
There's a song called Glow that I love. There's a song called Fire. That's kind of like a protest record, essentially. We wrote it during when everything was going on with Black Lives Matter. And yeah, it's just an opportunity for people to listen to the message that's being told to you now. Like this old way of thinking, this way of just thinking you can override everything and ignore people's lived realities. It has to stop.
Yes.
And the message has to catch on like fire.
Yeah.
And the message is love.
I love that.
So yeah.
So is it going to be, the album's going to be followed up with live shows?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We've got a really busy summer, lots of festivals. We're doing a small DJ tour
Amazing.
Later in the year. Our DJ set is fire. It's much smaller than the big show.
Yeah.
So it's our amazing DJ and musical director Harrison with maybe 3 or 4 vocalists. It's just a vibe.
Love it.
So if you get to come to a DJ set, you're going to love it.
And I got to support you guys at Coco, and the crowd are just awesome. You just bring so much electricity on stage. It's just such a special magic.
Thank you.
So I'm very excited for this album. Where can the people, the listeners, go and find?
Everywhere. The links are in our bios. You can go to our website, housegospelchoir.com.
Yes.
But everywhere.
And you want people to leave with the message of?
Love.
Yes.
Like there's so much difficult stuff happening in the world, and we're not saying like just talking about love makes it better, but love is a much bigger resource than we give it credit for. You know, let love guide you. See what happens.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming in and sitting on the sofa with me today. I can't wait to hear the album. I can't wait to see the live shows. And thank you for bringing your magic and your energy. And I'm glad those other paths didn't work out because you were meant to be doing this. And bringing so much love and electricity to dance electronic music. So
thank you so much, Kelly. And thank you, for Kelli-Leigh. And thank you for always championing us and women in music. In particular, you do an amazing job. And I'm just gassed for you. I just can't wait to see what because you do it. You do it. I love how this is,
Let's hope we see both of ourselves on Pyramid stage together one day. That would be huge.
Let's just imagine.
And the same, thank you to me because you brought me in and supporting you on the shows, and it's just been awesome. And I think that's one thing that's been very powerful in this business is when you meet, other women and artists that you can just connect with that are just so excited to champion and support each other. It means the world.
It does. Thank you.
Thank you.